Hello, hello, my beauties and bees, and welcome to another installment of Cryptic Corner, where we explore the unexplained, the supernatural, the paranormal and hidden, the mysterious, the alien, the accursed, and the forbidden. I am your host, Miss Bumblebee, and this is a kind of a special episode for me because this is I want to. I always, because I know I've said it before about other cryptids too, but I want to say this was my favorite cryptid. How about that? If I say this was my favorite cryptid, do you get where I'm coming from? When I was younger, I was into, obviously I was into animals, but I was into cryptozoology too, like from a very young age. I had like Mysteries of the Unexplained books and stuff like that, and Bigfoot and Mothman and everything in between. I was really into it. Now, close to where I live, there was the Missouri Monster, right? Momo, and Momo was, kind of not a big deal, but like people would joke about it and stuff. People would mention it. It would come up, the Missouri Monster, right? And the Missouri Monster was in Louisiana, Missouri, which is actually south of Hannibal, where I grew up. Now, Hannibal's river town. It's like the along the bluffs, and sort of the Ozark culture runs up the Missouri side of the river, all the way up to right to about Hannibal. Actually, it runs up to Keokuk, Iowa. If you want to be honest about how far that river folk, hill country people, because the bluffs of the Mississippi are much like the Ozarks, in a lot of boulder fields from the glaciation and stuff like that. So very similar kind of culture. But that was just a few. The Missouri Monster, Momo, was just a few for a town just a few dozen miles away from where I grew up. So it was really cool. But the thing about the Missouri Monster is it was a hairy hominid, a Bigfoot-like creature, which is great and all, but every state has that. Every state has, even Hawaii. Even freaking Hawaii has a Bigfoot. So, not a lot of... Thank you, Tux. Wearing a bow tie is fire. I should get a bow tie. I actually have a bow tie. I'll wear it on the 4th of July. I have, or whatever episode's closest to the 4th. What episode would be closest to the 4th of July? I guess the next episode would be the closest one to do it before the 4th. Otherwise, it'd be the 6th. Anyway, back to the story. So every state has a Bigfoot, but every state generally has something unique too. And the thing about Missouri was that at least said the Ozark Howler. Now they share the Ozark Howler with Arkansas and to a lesser extent Oklahoma, as far as the folklore goes. But it's rooted in the portion of the Ozarks where it is in Missouri, the particular range that we're talking about, the plateau, because the Ozarks isn't even a range anymore. It's still ground down. The Ozark Mountains are older than the Appalachian Mountains. And if you know how old the Appalachian Mountains are, that should give you an idea how old the Ozark Mountains are. There's not much left of them. But there is a lot, and they've had glaciers grind over them a few dozen times over the last few million years. So, not much left of them. They're just snaggled little rocks jutting up from the bones of the earth with cold water lakes in between them, and a lot of natural springs and things like that from glacier melt eons ago. Really cool stuff, but we're not here to talk about necessarily geology of the Ozarks, so relax if you think I'm going to get into that. But the Ozarks has a certain culture about it, which, and sometimes I'll say, I grew up in Ozark culture, and I grew up, like I said, northeast Missouri, so it's not really the same, but it's more like that culture than anything else, because, like I said, the river culture that runs up from the Missouri River Junction all the way up to about the Iowa border, this Ozark-style culture. It's the Tom Sawyer imagery with everybody having their own little wooden raft and going up and down the river. Old brick buildings along the rivers and river boats and paddle boats and things like that. Yeah, that's all up around here, and that's what you get in the Ozarks too, especially around the big lakes. And you get a lot of the casino boats now. Is what these people think of, I guess, when they think of that culture these days. But that runs up and down here too. Anyway, so but we go on vacations to the Ozarks. I mean, that's where people from Northeast Missouri go to vacation, especially when they're not like super rich. So we spent a lot of summers in the Ozarks when I was a kid, and when I was a teenager, I went down there on my own. So I felt really attached to it. I loved hiking down there, and the wilderness is great and unique. It's not like people want to think about the Midwest and they think about like prairie lands and stuff. It's not like that. It's like hilly, rocky, broken country littered with caves and strange rock formations and springs coming from unusual places and icy caves with like in the middle of summer have ice in them and giant freaking centipedes and black bears and elk, things that you don't really think about when you associate with the Midwest. But this little pocket is unique and has some unique flora and fauna. And until recently, it had a unique, I guess not really unique, but it was one of the stronghold populations for red wolves, which is a unique species of wolves to North America, which is now there's only a few hundred left in a preserve in North Carolina, and you don't hear people talking too much about it because it's there's other wolves with other wolves in the genus. So why worry about these red wolves? But they're a unique species to North America, and the Ozarks was a stronghold for that species as well. Also, there's like a break there between these two populations of bobcats too, the southern bobcats and then the northern bobcats. That come down to about Iowa, and they're quite a bit bigger than the southern bobcats that live down around the Ozarks. But I imagine that in the past there was a lot of gene transfer between them. So a lot of and then these things factor into what I'm talking about when we get to the Ozark Howler and how this mythology is built. But instead of me rambling about it like this and talking about my personal experiences, figured I could pull up a silly video. Maybe you guys like me talking about my personal experiences better than watching a video about the cryptid. Let me know however you prefer. This is just a smash cut somebody did that I think is funny about it, because as we dig into it, you'll understand why this is not a cryptid to be taken seriously in any capacity.
Welcome back.
I remember that now. That one got all blurred out. I don't know what happened to it. Something of... No, not that. That's what we were looking at over here. We will come back to that, though. But... Here. That unicorn keeps throwing me off, because why the fuck's a unicorn have to do with the Ozark Howler? Anyway, from the top, ladies and gentlemen, from the top, Sasquatch Secrets. Hey, Nikki, we're going to be talking about evolution tomorrow. Check that out. By the time this comes out as a standalone video, that'll be in the past. But yeah, I did a thing with Nikki on that Sunday, and go check it out because it was really fun, and we talked about the evolution of Bigfoot. All right, starting from the top with this, and let me know. Make sure the audio's okay and all that. Okay. Yes, the hoo-hoo.
Kids 101, where we find cryptid creatures and we bring them to light in
Why
an
are you so
introductory
quiet,
fashion.
bro?
Today, we are taking a look at the cryptid creature, the Ozark Howler. What is the Ozark Howler? The Ozark Howler is an American-based cryptid creature that has plagued the Ozarks for the last few hundred years.
Is that better?
It's been known by other names, including the Black Cat, the Ozark Black Howler, the Nightshade Bear, the Hoo-Hoo, the
Hoo-Hoo,
the Womp.
You gotta watch out for the hoo-hoo. When that's another. Okay, so it's funny talking about Missouri, talking about Ozark culture, talking about that southern Midwest mixture. Hoo-hoo is the term that people of that culture use to teach their children about what they call female genitalia when they're really little. It's hoo-hoo and wee-wee is the terms that they use. So just throwing that out there. So someone remember all of these weird names and stuff as we move forward. And it's not. This isn't a peculiar of a North American actual existing North American animal, because they all have different, like a multitude of different names, because different groups of people, different explorers, different settlers named them different things when they encountered them. Especially mountain lion is the most prominent I can think of. Mountain lion goes by puma, catamount, painter, mountain lion. Did I say cougar? Panther, mountain panther, mountain screamer, night devil. They have tons of different. American lion, they have but American lion, that's more of an old one they don't use anymore. But another one's coyotes have a lot of different names, like prairie wolf or like koi. Shoot, I can't remember the names. I have to pull up a list of it sometime, and we'll go over it. I'll do a video on coyotes at some point. Don't worry, and we'll talk about all their weird names.
Pooh cat and others too. Native Americans have legends that say the howler is a large predatory black cat that hunts in a vast area.
Which Native Americans? Which Native Americans are you talking about?
Sounds and howls have terrified those who have experienced them in ways that are said to stay with you and last. Its predatory essence, eerie lurking figure, and terrifying screams have driven dozens, if not hundreds of people out of the Ozarks over the centuries. Its lure is so effective to the locals that moonshiners used to pretend to be the Ozark Howler in order to scare people away from their illegal still sites. The creature has intrigued enthusiasts and skeptics.
Now that's an eye. Oh, it's so cute. Eyes are ugly cute in my opinion. They're a type of lemur. A nocturnal insectivorous lemur with a really long tappy finger for tapping trees for hollow spots to find bugs inside. Nom nom. Have you seen Harry and the Hendersons? I grew up on Harry and the Hendersons. Yeah, coy dogs. Hopicans. Sounds fishy to me. Corn dogs. Do they call coyotes corn dogs? I don't think they call them corn dogs. I know they call them prairie wolves. Is there something like a scatter fox or something like that? Weird names like that. But the Ozark Howler is like whatever you want it to be. It's whatever you want it to be as far as how it looks, and we're gonna kind of figure that out as we go along. It's a big cat with horns. It's a giant wolf creature, like a black dog. It's everything and anything, because that's what folklore does. But does this even count as folklore? We're gonna get into that.
Alike. Its existence, or at least the stories of its existence, have spurred arguments and discussions across the cryptozoological societies and local lore forums of this country. Many other creatures have been offered up by professionals and naysayers as possible explanations for encounters and sightings. There are those in the biologist communities that have evidence that people are experiencing what might actually be the North American red wolf making its return to nature in the Ozark areas. But
that's the Forrest Galante theory. I don't know if I buy that this was now. There's a time period or a time stamp on this that matters, though. So I think he's going to play the Forrest Galante part. Does he say it? Does he play it? No, I don't think so.
What we can be sure of is there have been enough people over the last couple hundred years who have seen this creature to ignore its existence as a real possibility. What does the Ozark Howler look like? The
you want it
earliest
to.
descriptions of the Ozark Howler seem to come from Native Americans' historical folklore, stating that the beast took the form of a panther-like massive black cat with large
Does it, though? Does Native American folklore say that?
teeth and larger claws. However,
Stick around to find out.
the description of a red, burning-eyed beast that resembles a blend of a bear, canine, and large cat with horns, more often than not, has come around in the last couple hundred years. But most regularly, the bright burning eyes, the large quadrupedal body, and long teeth seem to be a core signifier across most stories. Witnesses have described it as larger than a black bear and with visible muscular conformation
Which witnesses?
seen even in the dark. Wide paws and sometimes a long tail, but sometimes not a long tail, often come into focus. But in almost all the cases where
Sometimes horns, sometimes no horns. Sometimes it's a canid, sometimes it's a felid.
witnesses encountered,
Sometimes it's an ursid. What's up with that?
went beyond just the audible. It is said that the sheer sight of the beast brings with it a primal fear and instinctive need for survival on an animalistic level. I don't know about you, but I would probably poop my pants if I came face to face with a giant creature that looked like a blend between a cat, a dog, and possibly a bear. Where
You leave out the horns. They're the important part. That was always one of my favorite parts about the Ozark Howler was the horns, because that's what always made me lean into my giant lynx theory that I'll talk about in just a minute. Because I'm a big nerd.
is the Ozark Howler seen? Sightings of the Ozark Howler can be traced throughout most of the Ozark wilderness, most notably in the more remote parts of the Missourian areas and Arkansas ranges. Notable sightings may have also been traced further out west in Oklahoma and further south in Texas. More recent sightings have been recorded in places like Devil's Den State Park, Crawford County, Fort Douglas, Arkansas, Forsyth, Missouri, and Kimberling City, Missouri. Also, Mark Twain National Forest.
Mark Twain National Forest is beautiful. If you get a chance to visit Mark Twain National Forest, hit it up. Gorgeous natural springs all throughout there. It's beautiful fir trees that you can just there's like a park underneath them. It's so cool.
Has had some incidences of sightings as well. Its main territory is generally accepted as Arkansas, Oklahoma, and Missouri, according to reports and sites online. There have been reported sightings of the beast in deep, heavily wooded areas and open, grassy fields, as well.
Lives everywhere and anywhere. It can fill any boogeyman role that you need it to.
As sulking near homes and homesteads on the outskirts of society in the Ozark areas. People have seen and heard the Ozark Howler while driving down highway roads, as if it doesn't really have any boundaries or restrictions on the areas it will travel, which would be
Usually that's what animals kind of do. They don't have restrictions. The restrictions are usually climatological and environmental more so than state borders or sometimes they're natural boundaries like mountain ranges, rivers, and lakes, canyons. Obviously, being on an island is going to be very isolating.
concerning to anyone who has a genuine fear of coming across this cryptid creature. How does the Ozark Howler behave? The Ozark Howler is described to act as a typical predatory creature. Witnesses have reported the creature hiding in trees.
I love that it literally showed Predator. I was talking about Predator some more.
And doing what seems to be an attempt at scaring people off. They howl with a distinct otherworldly sound that people believe they use to communicate as well as intimidate and frighten. It is said if you lock eyes with the red beating eyes of the howler, it can put you in a trance, making you petrified and...
Now that is some black dog folklore right there. We covered black dogs back in March. I just had a little... I think I just released that just a couple weeks ago, though, as a standalone. But Kyushi, the black dog, red eyes, known especially around Britain and stuff, but any people that were colonized by the British, almost all of the world, will have some form of this folklore built into their culture.
And totally vulnerable. It is known to lurk and stalk intruders that pass into its current area, like a mountain lion or panther stalking its prey. It emits a growl that is described as both deeply guttural as well as high-pitched at the same time, giving off an unearthly and half-human eeriness, like the tortured screams of a woman.
Oh my gosh, I wish it was just somebody in the chat. Let me see here. Annoying newsletter. It's just a random population of bear cats. Do you smell popcorn? Yeah, because their pee smells like popcorn. Or not their pee. It's not their pee. It's like they have a scent gland. I shouldn't say their pee. They have a scent gland that makes that popcorn smell. Beavers have one that makes a vanilla smell. So, yeah, animal scent glands are useful, and it does kind of sound like a bear cat. Some of the descriptions.
The scream is said to cause a feeling of dread to wash over a person and cause an incurable chill to run up their spines. Other aspects of the lore and behavior of the howler state that its very sight means you are going to die soon, as well as its howl being considered as an omen of death. As far as I can find, there aren't really any well-known or recorded deaths directly attributed to the Ozark Howler. However, it does seem to inflict more of a lifelong fear that you can't seem to shake.
So, giving it some supernatural elements right there, that does change things up a bit. My hair keeps falling down in the back. I tried to do the loose ponytail this morning, and it didn't really work. So now I'm stuck with this. So I work with what I got, girls. Yeah. How to defend against the Ozark Howler? It's probably just to stop believing in it.
How to defend against the Ozark Howler. After reading through dozens of descriptions of encounters with the beast, it sounds like the most practical thing a person can do to ward off the creature is to generally not panic, stand your ground, and make lots of noise in an attempt to scare the thing off. If you have a firearm, discharging it in a safe way.
Okay, so I'm gonna talk to you guys more real talk for just a moment about dealing with wildlife. Okay. And this came up a lot with this man versus bear scenario that was floating around. I did a little bit of coverage on it recently. Anyway, so when it comes to this situation, the threat posed by wildlife to people is greatly exaggerated, especially if you're not by yourself. If you follow specific hiking, mountaineering, sightseeing rules, you'll be fine, right? You generally won't get attacked and hurt by an animal, right? If you see a bear, that's what it got me about the whole man versus bear thing. Thousands of people going, like, from April to October, thousands of people go into the woods to see bears, like specifically even the big predatory brown bears. They go looking for them. There's places to go to watch them where you can stand, and they have like platforms that you can stand out and watch them catch fish on the river and things like that. Thousands of people go into the woods looking for bears. Thousands of people goes into the woods looking for both species of bears that we have in North America. That's the black bear and the brown bear, and that's only in the western states. Now, mountain lions, on the other hand, are not something that people go out to look for and encounter, because you really can't expect to find them because they're really good at hiding. They don't want to be found. They're seldom found. If you ever had a cat, I know lots of people in my chat have cats and have kitties at home, and your cat doesn't want to be found, and they can vanish pretty good, even in a space that you know well. But when it comes to encountering wildlife, this is good advice for a big cat, like a mountain lion. Make yourself big and loud and annoying and threatening, Act like you'd rather fight than run a mountain lion, because your running is going to trigger a predatory chasing instinct. They're very responsive to that, and that's what they want you to do. So your best option is to inflate yourself and be loud and act like if you come near me, I'm not going to run, I'm going to fight with you. And you can it's hard to deter their curiosity, but you might deter their predator response, right? But they might still like follow you and stuff. Anyway, other animals as you might encounter, coyotes and wolves. Generally, that's going to work too. So throw stuff at them. Be loud and noisy if you feel threatened, right? If you're just trying to, if you're cool, just until don't get too close to them. Don't touch them. Take some pictures. Take only pictures. Leave only footprints, right? Good advice. For the bears, we've talked about it before. If it's, they say if it's brown, lay down. If it's black, fight back. If it's white, good night. Because the polar bear is not going to stop because food is scarce on the tundra. But your chances of running into a polar bear are pretty slim. But a black bear or brown bear, you can run into them. And a black bear you can run into in the Ozarks. So, good advice on dealing with black bears, I think. As far as I'm aware, yes, making yourself look big and threatening if you feel threatened by a black bear is probably the best way to deter it. But as same with the wolves though, if as long as you keep your distance and you're relaxed about it and you just watch it, you take some pictures and go on with your day. It's probably not going to want anything to do with you unless it's been habituated to see humans as a source of food, which is a problem. And when that happens, then we have to deal with that. Anyway, back to the video.
Possibly towards the howler seems to be sufficient enough to cause the animal to flee. But since this researcher could not find any instances where a person was come upon by the monster, we can only speculate on personal defense. For instance, learning an appropriate hand-to-hand self-defense style could prove advantageous if one encounters an Ozark howler. For starters, one could...
I don't know if hand-to-hand combat is going to help you fight a big cat or a bear. You want to fight a bear? You want to, like, kung fu a bear? What universe are we living in? These are and that's the again, back to the man versus bear thing. Again, that's what guys will be like, you need men to protect you from the... What's the guy going to do? You're going to fight a bear for me, sweetie? You going to jump on that bear? Or are you going to run? If a bear's coming at me, and you're there, are you going to protect me from the bear?
Suggest an in-depth study of the TV show Walker, Texas Ranger to emulate the master martial artist Chuck Norris, who has been known to eliminate the strongest of foes with a swift, powerful kick to the chest. The Ozark Howler is said to have a chest, so one could assume a swift Chuck Norris level kick would do the trick. But what do I know?
Definitely, if an animal's attacking you, a kick to the chest is not going to be a bad idea. No matter what species of animal it is, humans have pretty reasonably effective kicking abilities. Unfortunately, our legs are made up of the same soft, squishy type of tissue the rest of our body is, and we don't have the flesh to handle claw swipes very well. We bleed out easy, but
I just make YouTube videos. What is the Ozark Howler lore? Some of the earliest popular legends of the Ozark Howler date back to the times of a famous American pioneer and successful explorer named Daniel Boone. During his time in Missouri...
They don't, though. They really don't, but...
Missouri, he supposedly had an interesting close encounter with the howler when he reportedly shot at it. Some reports say he hit it and killed it. Others say he missed it and it fled. Legends have been passed down for generations by people local to the area who have heard and seen things that were undescribable to them. Native Americans have told stories of the Howler as a
Let's say Native Americans and show the Native American scene from freaking Adam's Family Values where they burn down the Pilgrim's Village. Grief. There's Zero. Zero found Jack's bone.
spirit, an omen, and even a forest guardian over the last 300 to 400 years. The Howler has shown up in shows like In Search of Monsters, with its episode in the show labeled simply as the Ozark Howler. Other shows that sported the beast include Mysterious Creatures with Forrest Galante, Expedition X, When Monsters Attack, Man vs. Monsters, and many, many more. There's even been a movie called Ozark Howlering. I am not kidding. Not to mention, more modernly, countless YouTubers creating episodes about the cryptid creature like we are doing here.
Yeah,
There
like
are
I'm
many
doing
more
too.
instances in the realm of entertainment which showcase this beast. We just don't have time to showcase them right now.
We are gonna go through them though. Don't you worry. They got 8 minutes. We got
Whether
as
it's
long as
real
I feel
or
like.
not, one thing can be sure. As far as folklore and the media are concerned, the Ozark Howler is here to stay. So, do you know of any obscure cryptid creatures that you'd like us to research and display here on our show? If you do, please let us know in the comments. As always, we appreciate you taking your time to watch, and thank you very much and have a good day.
Alright, so that was that. Now, there's a lot of places on the internet you can go to get Ozark Howler nonsense. The origins of the Ozark Howler legends aren't very clear. Some sources claim that there have been sightings as far back as the 1800s. In the 1950s, there was supposed sightings where a black goat-like creature was described as being the Ozark Howler, despite not matching the current common description at all. So, the idea that the Ozark Howler is a cat-like creature supposedly originates from sightings in the 80s. And they talk about, black dog folklore and how that might be related. This person's hunting the Ozark Howler. So people take this and just kind of run with it. And you can actually message this or email this guy, frankwall@freesites.com. You can send him an email about the Ozark Howler and get some feedback. The Ozark Howler, a cat-like creature known to hunters in Oklahoma, Arkansas, Texas, and Missouri. Citation. You're gonna just say that people talk about it, but they don't. It's not. Okay. Well, we're not going to. Yeah, there's some sort of academic debate about what the Howler is and what it isn't. Well, all I know is that it exists. There are just too many people who have seen the thing to ignore it anymore and say that it isn't an important question. Folks I know mostly agree that it's a pretty big cat, much bigger than a bobcat or lynx, that professors who haven't even seen the thing say it probably is, explaining away the important differences like the long, stocky body, the dark, thick fur, the consistent reddish cast to its eyes, and the appearance of both horn-like and a beard-like appendage on its head. It's easily close to 3 feet tall at the shoulder, and I'd like to know what bobcat gets to be this size. I'm a hunter. So don't try to kid me. So this person's gonna present this as if it's something that's like real. We got a case file here. There's a mutant feline listed in this story. A mutant feline. I don't know where it got mutated at some point along the timeline. It got pulled into the Ninja Turtle universe, but there's that Hoo-Hoo name again. It's the Hoo-Hoo. Whistling Campus, the Nightshade Bear. And they build. We'll get to this in a minute. Alright. And then there's this. Let's look at this. Tales of the Ozark Howler paperback, May 9th, 2019. And this is the book that they say was originally written in 1939, but was lost, like a lost volume. The author isn't even a real person. Yeah, there's actually one of the reviewers actually brings that up. Let me see, where was it? The book does not. Yeah, the Daniel Boone story. Oh yeah, some might call it a charming Southern storytelling, but if you're interested in cryptids, this is a hoax. There was no Saul Ashton. There is no Cornus Hawthorne. This wouldn't matter if half the country didn't take. Oh yeah, I didn't get into COVID stuff, but anyway. So yeah, this is a hoaxed book, right? It's not based in reality. The Daniel Boone story, which is actually him talking about the Yahoo, which was a character from his favorite, or a creature from Daniel Boone's favorite book, Gulliver's Travel. Right? He liked Gulliver's Travels, and the Yahoo was a giant man-like beast, or large primitive man-like beast. Yeah, like there's some old-timey imagery of it, but there's different depictions through the years. But it's mostly agreed that the Yahoo are supposed to be some kind of like primitive callback to man, right? Like some kind of primal man like creature. So. And Daniel Boone actually took Gulliver's Travels with him on his expeditions and stuff. He actually he kept a volume of it, and he would read it to his to his little hunting party of people. So it's funny to picture these rugged outdoorsmen sitting around a campfire, surrounded by untamed wilderness full of mysteries. But they're nose deep into a story about Englishmen finding themselves stranded on an island full of tiny little Lilliputans. Just funny to think about, but that's what the story was. Daniel Boone had a story about himself shooting a Yahoo. And then they conflate that with the Ozark Howler just to try to build on the folklore, right? But there's no trace of that ever being a thing. A 1970 science fiction short story by Timothy Godwin, also fake. There was no 1970 science fiction story. This is a 2020 science fiction story that is ad hoc to the 1970s to try to add again to the folklore on this. People are really dedicated to this. But even the actual cryptozoology community that tries to take a scientific approach, this is an older refutation, but Lauren Coleman called this out way back in 2006, okay? During the last decade, several attempts have occurred to promote the Ozark Howler as a real cryptid. After the first round of efforts, I gathered the specifics of the story, discovered the identity of the original hoaxer, and submitted the overview of what happened in a draft manuscript written with Jerome Clark in 1998. The draft would eventually become a published book. Is that link? Yeah, which is Cryptozoology A to Z with Lauren Coleman and Jerome Clark. And they deal with the Ozark Howler hoax. A photographer of a real howler, the black howler monkey of South America, Jesse Cohen of the Smithsonian. Oh, that's the picture that's no longer available because again, this is from 2006. So archived but a black howler monkey. Visualize a black howler monkey if you're having trouble. I can show you a picture. All right. Now, the editor at Simon and Schuster deciding to delete about 25% of the content of the draft, mostly due to their wishes to keep the book affordable, dropped several entries, including mine on the Ozark Howler. The entry was deemed out since part of the objective of the hoaxsters was to fashion a story so compelling, so seeded with old cases, that he could trick a guy like Loren Coleman into putting it into his new book. The editor made an overall judgment to expunge the stories linked to hoaxes, as well as various people's biographies, including in a strange coincidence, Chad Armentz, see below, we're going to talk about Chad Armentz a bit here. Simon and Schuster's Fireside editor decided to not include my cautionary tale about the Ozark Howler in the 1999 handbook. Unfortunately, the Ozark Howler is today believed to be be real by many people, and mentioned, and when I say real, like an actual cryptid with real naturally organic folklore, built on actual sightings and not whole cloth fabrications. Where was I? I'm losing my voice here. All right. There we go. Unfortunately, okay. And mentioned on some 4,600, and again, this is back in 2000. These stats are going to be like way low now. 2006, that's still Internet 1.0. The internet tales are still being spun as fact, so that now anything unknown seen in the Ozarks is often called the Ozark Howler. Similar to how cryptids in New Jersey are frequently labeled the Jersey Devil, or ones in Colorado are simply termed the Howler. Howler, the Yeti, was the mascot of the Colorado Avalanche hockey team for a few years. The legacy is remembered in the snowman footprint on their uniform. The Ozark situation is in a large part promoted by an incomplete entry at Wikipedia that is driven by an old planted history and repeated stories, other than Chad Armentz mentioned in his 2004 book, Cryptozoology, Science and Speculation, of the truth behind the fake story of the Ozark Howler, which the Wikipedia entry tries to dismiss. The specifics of the fakery 1998 discovery are little remembered today. Currently, nevertheless, skilled internet investigators can find the supposed links of contemporary Ozark Howler online appearances, track back through some newer non-Howler sites posted by groups called Memphis Atheists. Go figure. Interestingly, a clear internet footprint still leads to the same door, as you will see, which is the same one that I found in 1998. 1998. Think about how long ago this has been debunked and people are still... Anyway, I guess some things do live seemingly forever on the internet. Yes, Loren Coleman, you are correct, because here we are. You made this in 2006. We are almost... we're 18 years later now. So this article is a legal adult. So that's how long ago this has been debunked. Let's look at this. So this is the faux Ozark Howler article that someone put together using a lot of stitched together pieces to fabricate folklore, right? There's that Saul Ashton, Eric R. Asher, allegedly, and these are supposed to be old folklore, right? But they're not. And there's that reference, that 1973 article that never existed from a Cryptic Universe, which never existed, but I like that name, Cryptic Universe. Write that down. Someone in the side chat, write that down. Who is gifting all these? Dang. I think I missed some too. Yes, I did. Holy crap. I missed some at the way back at the beginning of the show. Who's your buddy? Thank you so much for the 10 gift memberships. We got Pragmatic Crystal, Jester, Lord of Fools, Carol Kistner, John. Oh, no, John Hudson didn't. That's just him saying that's fucked about something. Jefferson Spatchcock, BigZebra.com, AsHost64, Rodent, no last name. Gonna go for it, Caterpillar, and James Nordhoff. Congratulations on getting your free gift membership. Or not free. It was free to you. Someone bought it for you. So thank you. Who's your buddy? You rock. All right. And then more recently, Kalasia789 gifted 5 memberships, which did land in John Hudson's lap. Jen with 1 and got 1. Marty Camejo, Hunter Biden's laptop, and Cosmic Kyle all got 1. Yay! Swift spoke Spanish, so the name of the floating island was Laputa. He knew what he was doing. Yeah. In an alternative timeline, Native Americans had war mammoths or mastodons like Hannibal crossing the Alps. Things didn't go so well for the colonizers in that timeline. I like the timeline where the Mesoamerican cultures domesticated forest rockets, terror birds, as like mounts. Do you imagine the conquistadors' shock when they rolled into the Aztec Empire and the army was riding giant freaking terror birds? Scary. Yeah. All right, but yeah, Cryptic Universe is a good name. Gotta take that down. Yay! You're awesome, Kalasia. I don't know if it's because it's Kalasia or Kalasia, and however you prefer. AR, you can't turn on the accept gift thingy. I can't do it on my channel either with this channel because I am a branded channel, I guess, is the way that works. I guess. Otherwise, I can't find and access it. They really jacked up the chat and comments in the iOS version of YouTube. Yeah, on my phone, the accept gift toggle is only accessible when someone sends a gift membership, then the prompt appears. Okay, yeah. Anyway, so back to the article. They made up a whole list of folklore, faux citations, like a lot of faux citations, dedicated faux citations. I mean, obviously they did citations to real things too, like pop culture stuff. Like I don't doubt that there are bands and stuff that go by the Ozark Howlers. I don't doubt that. But the alleged old documents, anything predating like 1996. Is wholly sus. Here's how the new article looks. The modern article. You can see it's a lot shorter. It's basically a stub at this point, and it's more. It talks more about this. About this next thing that we're going to jump into than it does about anything else, and that is in 2014 there was this alleged sighting. Yes, this is literally about 10 years ago this was considered top-notch cryptozoology hoax material. As you guys know, I'm well versed on looking at images like this and assessing Photoshop when it's present. I also have, I don't know, is Nikki still here? Because Nikki does that too. She's pretty good at looking at these things and saying, yeah, that's photoshopped, or that's that blur is caused by this. This is caused by that. They put some pronghorn horns on whatever this body is. It looks like it could be, I think it's a dog. It does look like a dog. They changed the tail and put some horns on it. That's what it looks like to me. This was the Ozark Howler sighting at Devil's Den. Game and Fish say photos are a hoax. The photos were sent to 4029 News by a viewer who said they saw the Ozark Howler along the Yellow Rock Trail at Devil's Den this weekend. We reached out to the Ozark Game and Fish Commission, who said there have been no documented sightings of the Ozark Howler in our area. A biologist says, to his knowledge, the legendary Ozark Howler is one that ranks up there with tales of Bigfoot, and they spell Bigfoot really weird here. I don't know why they spell it like that. It's one word, and the F is not capital. But anyway, while they couldn't comment on the legitimacy of these photos, the viewer who sent them to us says the pictures are not photoshopped, but we aren't so sure. According to the urban legend, the Ozark Howler is a creature that roams the Ozark Mountains. For those who say they've seen it, it's described as a cat-like creature with glowing eyes and horns. Yeah, but no, it's not real folklore. It's fake lore. That's what this is. The Ozark Howler is fake lore, right? I wish it was a real folklore, but it's not. It's something that was made up to see if they couldn't trick cryptozoologists into putting it in print, right? And now we know better. Now we know how this is done, right? Now we know how these steps are taken. Now, this was mostly debunked by... Well, they took Chris's part out of this. Hold on. Here's what we're going to do. This is going to go into... Here's how you do this, by the way. Go to View History, and you can see all the changes that people have made over the years. Someone trolled this article, and I'm removing it. Right? Again, more accuracy is not possible. Telephone report to confirm the dispatch of armed anyone. Let's see. I think I'm going to give us the whole thing. Give us the whole history, because these... I added more information to help readers know how dangerous the Ozark Howler can be. I added published references for recent editions, noting the approach of the Ozark Howler is commonly regarded as an omen of death. Yeah, but it all was bullshit. See, if you look at these revisions that they do, it's just ARC history teacher doing bad. This article was hijacked by fringe theorists, adding countless unreliable sources. Look at that. This is why you got to look into what you're researching. And they're adding all these different fake names. This Petunia Jones is the one doing a lot of this stuff. If you look through here. I saw such a beast with my own eyes. So yeah, all the way back to the beginning, people have been jacking with this article trying to convince people that this is a real thing. Not a real thing. Not a true account of this creature exists prior to this person who sent all their silly images or silly reports and faux history to different cryptozoological publications for I think it was 1994 through 96 that they were sending them out. But what if What if the Ozark Howler was based on something real? I don't agree with that person we just read that said that it couldn't be a giant lynx, because that's a pretty cool theory, or giant bobcat, right? Which is what I kind of ran with on my description of the Ozark Howler in my what if series. I decided that remember at the beginning of the show I talked about how the Ozarks was kind of this isolated pocket of unique megafauna for a long time, up until fairly recently. It had unique megafauna because it was a unique habitat. And I talked about how the bobcats, the larger northern bobcats and then the southern bobcats, kind of mingle in this region of the U.S. The southern bobcats actually have a genome to make them that will make them black. And the reason I think that it's lynx obviously is another option, but we don't have any evidence that lynx can have a black genotype. But we do know bobcats can, at least in Florida, which is those most southern bobcats that you can get, right? But so I threw together some ideas of what such a animal might look like and how big it might be. Basically, an oversized bobcat with the ear tufts, slightly longer tail. I even had it taxidermied. Had John James Audubon paint pictures of it. That one looks more like a cougar, but I digress. Good kitty. Jump on that deer. There you go. There's Binky. Binky taking down a deer for you, Sumami. Yeah, this were faux museum specimens. So, yeah, I made a fake background and everything. Yeah, the Ozark Howler, Lynx alleghaniensis, a species of large, often melanistic lynx that was endemic to the Ozark Range in Missouri, Arkansas, and Oklahoma. This was the largest species of lynx in North America and reached sizes comparable to a Eurasian lynx, with large specimens reaching weights of 30 kilograms or 66 pounds, with unconfirmed reports in excess of 45 kilograms or 100 pounds. Elk calves were reportedly an important part of their diet, at least seasonally. Like all large cats, livestock predation was an issue for locals, and the animal gained a poor reputation, leading to many unsavory local nicknames like the Black Devil or Hellcat. The numbers were greatly reduced with the extinction of the local elk species in the 1840s, and by the 1870s, the large black pelt disappeared from the fur trade. Surveys and expeditions into the back hollows have yet to yield any surviving specimens, and L. rufus has replaced the species in the local food web. So, yeah. And I'm open about this. AI fiction. Cryptic Corner. You know, I like to give some things, it's fun. Just all good fun. Well, that was actually about perfectly an hour of, yeah, that was your binky. Okay, let me catch up on the chat real quick, and then we'll wrap the show. We'll wrap Cryptic Corner. We got tons more show to come. This is just the first segment. The next segment's going to be, you're going to watch my blood pressure rise, so don't miss that. All right, so, chat, where are you at? Oh my gosh, I went and did all this and didn't even, oh, that's why. Didn't have the tokens yet. There we go. I was going to launch Bugbot again today. He has his commands, but he doesn't have. I don't have the stream tokens. A fake cryptid. Yeah, well, I mean, when I say fake cryptid, it means that that someone absolutely dedicated themselves to building fake folklore around a an imagined beast, right? It's called fake lore is the term for it. So yeah, it's a fake cryptid, but it's fake lore. And fake lore is kind of problematic because it muddies the water of real folklore and makes it hard for us to trace things back properly. And cryptozoologists, people in the cryptozoological community, not all cryptozoologists, like to murk the waters up with things like that. You'll see a lot of these stories about like giants in North America, North American native folklore, and people will infer that as Bigfoot legends. Some of them are. I mean, some of them are big hairy people in legend, but some of them aren't, and they're just turned into it for convention. All right, let me see. Where are we? Chat, where you at? Okay. Yeah, terror birds would be awesome for the conquistadors to have to face. They would have wrecked those horses. North America had a lot of potentially rideable mammals like camelops and macrochinia. Yeah, the slow march of the ground sloth cavalry. That would be wild. Well, I don't know if we can say that ground sloths were necessarily as slow as their arboreal counterparts, right? Sure, they might have been, slow compared to an ungulate, but they could have been a lot faster than what we think of today when we think of a sloth. I don't know. A lot of North American animals aren't even worth riding once. Looks like a deer with mange that got... Yeah, I think it was a dog, but it could be a deer. I saw paws, though. They could have artificially made the paws on it. I love to compile this into an RPG setting, but not enough to risk appropriation. Of course, they're not doctored photos. Folklore versus fakelore to fleece the tourist. A fake cryptid? Yeah. Looking at the matrix code on the site. It's an omen, right? It's writing on the walls. I guess that's song lyrics. Damn it, Petunia, you're not making the Howler better. You're just making the site worse. Yeah, let's...